What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I'm here to do my post-game analysis video for the Miami Dolphins versus Indianapolis Colts. Before I jump into that, though, the Dolphins made a roster move today. They actually claimed a player off of another team's practice squad, and it actually has to do with the offensive line. So let's talk about that first. So another move on the offensive line. The Miami Dolphins reportedly are signing veteran center Austin Reiter off the New Orleans practice squad. Now, let me just say, I'm actually kind of surprised that they made this move. And this, I mean, we'll have to wait and see if it actually bears any fruit. But this is probably one of the best decisions so far that they've made when it has come to offensive line personnel or like player acquisitions or whatever. And I was actually kind of surprised that they made a move to begin with. But, you know, Dieter's obviously on IR. Hopefully Raekwon Davis comes back for this game, although there has been no indication yet that they have removed him from IR. So we will have to wait and see if he ends up coming off IR and coming back to practice. If he doesn't, then he'll miss this game against the Bucs. So to throw that in there. But, you know, Dieter's on IR now, and so they brought in Austin Reiter. The Miami Dolphins continue to look for solutions, but that could potentially mean, you know, if he does beat out Greg Mance, then, you know, we'll have our fifth offensive line configuration for the fifth straight week. And also, you know, he will have just, you know, gotten into the building, so he's got to learn the play calls and stuff. He is a veteran and he is experienced, so that could help. But anyway, let's get through this. The Miami Dolphins continue to look for solutions for the struggling offensive line, and it looks like the latest move will involve poaching the New Orleans Saints practice squad. Veteran center Austin Reiter, who started 28 games for the Kansas City Chiefs the past 2 seasons, will be joining the Dolphins from the Saints practice squad, according to NFL reporter Aaron Wilson. So, you know, I mean, look, you could say, so on the one hand, he does have, you know, veteran leadership and experience, which we definitely could really use. I mean, and at the very least, he could be a depth option. But there is also something to be said, on the other hand, for the fact that the Chiefs let him go. He only ended up making it onto, you know, the practice squad of the Saints. So, you know, that's why, partly why I say, you know, we'll have to wait and see if it bears any fruit. But I actually relatively, you know, out of everything that they've done with their decisions, I like this move the best. Reiter was elevated from the Saints practice squad for their games against Carolina and New England in weeks 2 and 3, but he did not play in either game despite being active. He signed with the Saints practice squad in September after no team picked him up in free agency this offseason. After starting 12 games in 2020, Reiter was part of the Kansas City purge of its offensive line and the aftermath of the blowout loss against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Super Bowl 45? 50, yeah, right? Or no? Whatever. Anyway, Reiter was part of an offensive line that that allowed the Bucs to sack Patrick Mahomes 3 times, but more importantly, harass him all night on their way to a 31-9 victory. So, you know, it's part of the context, right? None of the starting offensive line for the Chiefs in that Super Bowl started in their 2021 opener. Word from Joshua Briscoe, publisher of SI Fan Nation's sister site Arrowhead Report, is that Reiter is a middle-of-the-pack center who relies a lot more on finesse than power. So we'll see how that plays out. His work in pass protection earned high grades from Pro Football Focus, which ranked him 3rd among all centers over the past 3 seasons. So, you know, I mean, he's 24th in overall, 48th in run blocking, but 3rd in pass protection, so we definitely need help there. So, like I said, we'll see how it plays out and if it bears any fruit. Reiter has the ability to play guard, but don't be surprised to see him challenging Greg Mance for the starting center job. Dieter is placed on injured reserve, etc., etc. Yeah, so that's really enough on that. We can go ahead and swap over to my template here for the game. So let me jump up to the top here so we can go through it from the top. But yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, it's interesting. And I do have more injury news developments. I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end when I get to my injuries. But I did want to add in that, you know, with Dieter going on IR, they did make this move. So it's an interesting one. You know, it's the best one. I don't know if it's going to do anything for us. but maybe, possibly, and, you know, the offensive line is fucking trash. So, you know, it is what it is. And then, you know, the Raekwon Davis thing, again, we haven't heard anything yet of him being activated off IR. Hopefully he is, you know, but of course, even if he does, he hasn't practiced for 3 weeks, etc., etc. So we'll see if, you know, there's any rust he needs to shake off or whatever. And, you know, hopefully there's no lingering issues, but we have to wait and see if he even comes off IR to begin with. Also, real quick, apparently Tua did start throwing again today. So even though, you know, today there's no practice today, I guess he's just kind of starting to throw the ball a little bit just to kind of get into things. He's obviously not going to play in the Tampa game. He has to sit out that game at least. But he is expected to return for the Jags game. So that is good news there. You know, and just real quick, you know, when it comes to Tua, again, I just want to say this. I love Tua. I love the kid. For me, my little mantra or whatever for him is it's never been the player or the person. It's always been the potion, the stuff around him. And I love him, and I think he definitely gives us a better chance than Brissette does without question. However, I'm just not convinced that he is going to be able to be Superman and do everything and elevate this offense to a point where they're even respectable, because there are so many issues that go way beyond the quarterback situation, the offensive coordinator situation, and the fucking, you know, the bad offensive line, the play calling, the scheming, the personnel usage, the undisciplined play, right? Like, there's so much that goes into it, and it's way bigger than the quarterback situation. So, you know, I hope that when he comes back, he's able, especially since the season does soften up, I hope that he's able to come back and perform at a high level, not get re-injured behind that shitty offensive line, and help us to rattle off some wins and maybe push for the playoffs, or at least be in the conversation towards the end of the season. But, you know, I'm personally not going to get my hopes too high just to end up being disappointed. I'd rather be pleasantly surprised than heartbroken. So anyway, let's start diving into this. Like I said, there are a couple more injury things that I do want to talk about, but that'll be at the end because they were related to this game. So let's go through it. And look, all of those issues that I just rattled off a second ago, that's, you know, that's why, I mean, Brissette, you know, being shit also adds to the equation. But, like, you know, all of those reasons are why I said, look, dude, I don't have faith for the Dolphins getting a win over the Colts. And what happened? Now, originally I predicted a 20-16 victory, so I was right that it was relatively low scoring, and I was close with the Dolphins number. They obviously got 17, but oh, I'm sorry, that's not the Raiders. I forgot to change that to the Colts. Excuse me. But the Colts, okay, they obviously scored a little bit more than I thought, you know, scoring 27 points. So it was a margin of 27-17. And honestly, if we're keeping it real, it wasn't really even that close for pretty much any of the game. We got the 2 touchdowns that we got were in basically garbage time when they finally started to, like, test the wounded secondary of the Colts, right? But they kind of had to, because they were playing down 20, it was 20-3 before they ended up getting their first touchdown, and then they ended up getting another one to make it 27-10, and then we, you know, so it's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Anyway, we only had 203 total yards, obviously not very good. 349 for the Colts. We had 168 passing. They had 210. We had 35 fucking rushing yards. Like, really, bro? Really? I mean, it's whatever, dude. I mean, bro, like, I've been talking about this shit for a while. You know, we've been talking about it for a while on Reason's show. Like, Dolphins fans just wanted to think that everything was going to be all fucking great and this team has finally arrived. But I've been telling you guys, man, and there were so many warnings, so many red flags that it was glaring, and it was pretty obvious to me and some other people. But a lot of Dolphins fans just wanted to live in that rosy fucking, you know, world where everything's lollipops and sunshine and shit. Anyway, we gave up 139 rushing yards. We had 4.1 yards per play to their 5.2. We lost 2 fumbles. They lost 1. Obviously, their fumble and one of our fumbles was in the return game. They were muffed punts. No team threw an interception. We were only 27% on third downs. Our third down percentage defensively increased a little bit. We're no longer the 32nd worst team, the last team in the league. We're now 31st. We bumped up a little bit because we improved, but 40% is still not a good number. And we are still 31st in the league in third down percentage on defense. Time of possession, we had measly 22:51. Okay, and so it's interesting because when we get into the defensive breakdown and the numbers there and the tackles, they actually didn't have a ton of tackles and stuff like that, right? They did have, 3 sacks and I think like 4, I don't know, we'll look at in a minute. But they don't have like a ton of total tackles and stuff like that. But the thing is they didn't need to because the offense couldn't stay on the fucking field, right? Anyway, which time of possession is partly, an indicator of. But then you'll see when we get to the drive portion, like there was some 3 and outs. We had to punt several times, etc., etc. They had the ball for 37 minutes and 9 seconds, which of course means that our defense had to be on the field for that long. 5 penalties, not the worst overall, but we have been a very undisciplined team this year, and those penalties came at terrible times. We got a chunk yardage play on offense just to have it called back yet again by an Austin Jackson hold. We held them and they were about to punt the ball, and Brendan Scarlett got an offsides on a 4th and 3 and gave him 5 yards to pick up the motherfucking first down and go get points. So, and they had 8 penalties. So, again, it's just been fundamental issues across the board on this team. And we've seen so much regression. I mean, even keeping it real, Xavier Howard hasn't, I personally don't think he's had a bad season to this point. He has our only interception. I think we have just one. But anyway, he has one of them, he had that game-saving fumble against the Patriots. But he's also had, some bad plays and gotten beat a couple times. Jason Sanders has missed a field goal. There's fucking Jakeem Grant, he hasn't muffed a punt and lost a fumble in the return game for a long time. And then, all of a sudden has. So, again, and that's resurfacing, right? Obviously, he drops balls occasionally as a receiver, and he's, had a fumble or two as a receiver, but he generally, fixed his fumbling issues when it came to the return game, but not in this case. So it's just, and that goes on the coaching. It's just been shit coaching across the board. And so it's not good stuff. I'm not convinced that it's going to get fixed. And at this point, look, right now I'm still gonna say that we're gonna be able to beat the Jags. The Jags are 0-4, but with the way that things are shaping up, I don't know, bro. It's a London trip. We have to travel. That's gonna be Tua's potential first game back, so there might be some rust there, etc., etc. And the Jags, I think, have incrementally been playing a little bit better each and every week. They got close to getting a win. Right? The Jets, I'm still, as of right now, I still say that's 2 wins on the schedule, but I have said that I think they're going to be a sneaky good team this year, maybe winning somewhere between 5-7, and they just squeaked out an overtime win against the Titans this past week. So, I don't know, bro. The season is, they got to prove it to me. I am, again, as of right now, I still am going to predict wins for those games. But you never know, bro, and it certainly could go the other way with the way that this Dolphins team is shaping up, which is super depressing, and I hate being right about that because I did predict this being the way that it was going to turn out. I have been telling people that the shit was going to come crashing down, that the defense wasn't as elite as people said, etc., etc., but, there's still time to prove me wrong, and I hope they do. It's probably not going to start with this week against the Tampa Bay Bucks, but it is what it is. All right, let's continue on. Jacoby Brissette was 20 for 30, 66.7%, 199 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 107.5 passer rating. He had a decent stat line, not very many yards, couldn't even crack 200, and that wasn't, obviously, that didn't even happen. The 2 touchdowns and the fucking, most of those yards and stuff didn't even come until the 4th quarter in garbage time. So, it's a little bit misleading if we're keeping it real. Carson Wentz was 24 of 32 for 75%, 228 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 115.1 passer rating. The only rushing yards of note, since we only had 35 total, was Malcolm Brown's 8 rushes for 23 yards and a 2.9 average. We could not stop Jonathan Taylor from having a 100-yard game. As you can see here, he had 16 for 103 and one touchdown with a whopping 6.4 average. Marlon Mack added 10 rushes for 22 yards and a 2.2. Devontae Parker led the way for us. And again, too, like game planning and stuff. They didn't get Parker and Gesicki and shit involved until the fucking fourth quarter when they started like feeding them the ball a little bit. And then Jalen Waddle had some production early in the game, and they just decided to go completely away from him. Like, it's so bad, bro. It's so bad. Anyway, Devontae Parker, 4 of 9, 77 and a score. Mike Gesicki, 5 of 6, 57 and a touchdown. And if I'm not mistaken, that Mike Gesicki touchdown, it took us 4 plays to get into the fucking end zone again from like the 1 yard line. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Anyway, Jalen Waddle, 3 of 4 for 33 yards. Salvon Ahmed, 2 of 2 for 12. And Albert Will... Oh, wait. No. Is that right? Was he in there? I feel like I may have forgotten to take that out. I'm going to check that real quick because... Anyway, whatever. Who cares? It doesn't even matter, actually. Although I am curious. But my phone is freaking out. So, anyway. I'm sorry. Bear with me for just a second. Oh, yeah. Okay, no, that is right. Albert Wilson was 1 of 2 for 11 yards. For some reason, I thought, like... Anyway. Michael Pittman led the way for them, 6 of 8, 59. Zach Pascal, 4 of 5, 44. Mo Alley Cox, 3 of 5 for 42 and 2 touchdowns. Jack Doyle, 1 for 24. Paris Campbell, 2 for 3 and 22 yards. Ashton Dillon, 1 for 17. And Jonathan Taylor, 3 of 3 for 11. Defensive statistics, let's go. By the way, just so you know, just to throw this in there, the requirements are, for me, they have to have at least 10 yards and or a touchdown. And defensive statistics, they have to have at least 3 solo tackles and or additional stats like tackles for loss, etc. to make it on here. Otherwise, I cut them off and don't include them. So Nick Needham led the way for us, 5 solo, 1 assisted tackle and a pass defense. Landon Roberts, 5 solo, 1 assisted. Christian Wilkins did have a solid day today, and he actually is, having a pretty solid season to start the year. So that is good to see. It's not really mattering that much, unfortunately, but he did need to take a step forward, and so far he is actually having a pretty solid season. 4 solo tackles, 3 assisted with 2 tackles for loss. He's like tied for first, I think, or something like that with, tackles for loss or something like that. I can't remember what the stat is, but he's having a pretty good season. Eric Rowe was 4 solo, 3 assisted. Let's see, Xavier Howard, 4 solo, 1 assisted and a pass defense. Andrew Van Ginkel, 4 solo tackles, 1 assisted and 2 tackles for loss. Justin Coleman, 3 solo with a tackle for loss. Emmanuel Ogbah, 2 solo, 2 assisted, 1 sack and 1 tackle for loss. Jerome Baker, 2 solo, 2 assisted with a pass defense. Jalen Phillips, 1 solo, 1 assisted. He finally broke through and got a half a sack. Which is good to see, and he has been making, incremental progress each and every week, so that is good to see out of him. But we also do have to keep the context that he was playing against the 31st worst offensive line in the league, so there is that too. That is part of the context, but it is fair to say that Jalen Phillips has been improving, and he finally did break through and get a half a sack. Sam Eguavon, 1 of 1. 1 solo, 1 assisted, and a half sack. He was the guy that got the other half of that sack with Phillips. Byron Jones had 1 solo tackle and a pass defense. And Blake Ferguson had a fumble recovery. That's because it was on special teams during the muff punt. Total tackles, the Dolphins had 40 with 30 assisted tackles. I like having 30 plus in the assisted because that means that it's a solid indicator that the players are getting hats to the ball and corralling it, right? 2 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, 1 fumble recovery, and 4 passes defensed. Darius Leonard led the way for them with 5 solo, 3 assisted, 1 tackle for loss, a fumble recovery, and a pass defensed. Xavier Rhodes had 4 solo tackles. Isaiah Rodgers, 3 solo tackles, Bobby Okereke had 2 solos, 6 assisted, and a pass defensed. Let's see, Andrew Sendejo, 2 solo, 2 assisted with a pass defensed. Kimoko Ture, 2 solo, 1 assisted, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Grover Stewart, 2 solo, 1 assisted, 1 sack, and 1 forced fumble. And then Ashton Dillon added in a fumble recovery. And again, like I said, they only had 26 total tackles with 23 assisted. So not a ton in the tackles, but they didn't need to because our offense fucking sucked and kept getting off the field. 3 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, 1 forced fumble, 2 fumble recoveries, and 3 passes defensed in total. And the kicking game, Jason Sanders was 1 for 1 on his field goals with a long of 38, 2 of 2 on his extra points. Rodrigo Blankenship, 2 of 2 on his field goals with a long of 43 and 3 of 3 on his extra points. Michael Pilardi did have a good day overall, 5, even though he had to punt 5 times, but for a 47.8 average, 3 inside the 20 with a long of 56. Rigoberto Sanchez, 4 punts for 50 average, 2 inside the 20 and a long of 57. We had no kickoff returns. They had 2 by Isaiah Rodgers for 22 average, a long of 23, meaning the other return was for 21 yards. Jakeem Grant had 3 punt returns, including 1 that he obviously muffed, and that's where we lost the fumble there. He had 3 returns for a 4.3 average with a long of 14. Nyheim Hines had 2 with a negative 0.5 average, and that's in part because, well, on one of them, he lost a yard, and the other one, he muffed the punt, right? So, anyway, quick look at the Dolphins League standings. I accidentally kind of did this a little bit backwards. I did my quick hit scouting report video last night and gave you a full update. So I'm actually not going to read through all of this since I did that already. But here I'll pause for a second so you guys can take a look at the offensive and defensive league standings. Obviously, there's a couple spots like passes defense, for example, or whatever, where we're solid, but where we're good. But obviously in most statistical categories, we are in both offense and defense. We are in the back half of the league, and in a lot of cases, you know, the bottom 5. So obviously not good. Definitely need to make massive improvements. And yeah, so key points in analysis. Did we win? No, obviously not. We fucking sucked. We didn't live up to what, you know, we lost the turnover battle. We couldn't stop Jonathan Taylor from getting 100 yards. The offense was inept as fuck, so couldn't get the keys of victory because obviously no victory. So let's do a real quick run through this game breakdown, quarter by quarter, drive by drive. Dolphins receive the ball to start. They punt after 6 plays. Then we get a field goal, but that obviously we were lucky to get that because we were set up by the muffed punt. And they couldn't punch it into the end zone to get a touchdown. So again, fucking couldn't, you know, okay, they took advantage and got 3 points, making it 3-0. But they couldn't fucking punch it in, bro. And, you know, inept. And then obviously they didn't score any more fucking points until the 4th quarter. Colts then punt after 5 plays. Dolphins punt after 12. That ends the first quarter. Quick first quarter. Second quarter starts. And the Colts have to punt after 5 plays. Dolphins then go 3 and out. Colts get it back, get a touchdown after 10 plays to make it 3-7 on their 3rd drive. Dolphins then go 3 and out. Colts punt after 7 plays. Dolphins end the half after 1. And let's see, I think they just knelt it down. I can't remember. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm trying to fucking forget these games because they suck and it's not pretty, etc. Anyway. 3rd quarter starts. Colts do receive the ball for the second half. They go down immediately after 11 plays and score a touchdown, making it 3-14. You know, we're now down by 2 scores, basically. Dolphins go 3 and out on their next drive. Colts then have to punt after 4 plays. Then they get a field goal after 4 plays on their 7th drive, making it 3-17, because that's where the Dolphins muffed their punt, setting them up for an easy field goal. Dolphins fumble after 4 plays on, and look, you know, this was a team we should have won. They were decimated by injuries, right? Their offensive line was having, you know, was decimated and having struggles. Their offense was having struggles. We should have been able to win this game. They couldn't do it, and that's why I'm saying, bro, they got to prove it to me a lot more this season now, because I just don't have faith that these issues are going to get fixed. Anyway, Dolphins fumble after 4 plays. Going into the fourth quarter, the Colts get a field goal after 4, making it 3-20. Dolphins then finally, in garbage time, when they start playing prevent defenses and we actually start picking up some chunk yardage and pushing the ball a little bit, Dolphins get a touchdown after 8 plays, making it 10-20. Then Colts go back and answer after 8 plays, get a touchdown of their own, making it 10-27. Dolphins then get a touchdown after 6 plays on their 10th drive, their final of the game, making it 17-27 because that was obviously the final score. Colts then take the ball, they move it, down the field, 11 plays worth, take off the rest of the clock, end the game, and that was a wrap. So there were 2 pretty significant injuries in this game, which, one on both sides of the ball. So, some of our offense, not that Will Fuller was really doing much of anything anyway, and not that the offensive line gives the quarterback time, not that Jacoby Brissette would take it even if it was open, and not that the play calling or scheming is very good. So there are all those issues, but we do lose an offensive weapon in Will Fuller. For sure, for the Bucs game, he's going to be out of the Bucs game. He obviously left this game and didn't return, but he's 100% going to be out of the Bucs game with a broken finger and possibly even longer. So, that's not good. So that's part of what I'm saying too, man. Like, okay, so Tua comes back against the Jags. He has to shake off a little rust, flying to London, and, Will Fuller's not going to be there. So, anyway, whatever, dude. It's just a mess all around. I believe in Tua and everything, and I think he gives us the better chance. I'm just not convinced yet that he's going to be able to be Superman, and he shouldn't have to be. They should have actually built a fucking team properly and not have to rely on the quarterback to come save your fucking season. Anyway, and Byron Jones, I've been seeing multiple things. Like, some people were saying hamstring, some people were saying quad, but Byron Jones got injured in this game, and so now he's day-to-day, according to what Flores had to say today. We'll go ahead and pop out of this. So Flores said that he is day-to-day with his injury and, whatever, but there's some possibility he doesn't play against the Tampa Bay Bucs, and even if he does, he's, clearly not going to be at full strength, which, is obviously not good. But who knows, man? Maybe he re-aggravates it. Hopefully not, knock on wood, obviously. But maybe he re-aggravates it and comes out of the game or plays limited on a snap count or something. So injury's not good. Again, though, that was one of my big concerns. But now some of our depth in the secondary is likely to get tested. And anyway, so... whew, that was a lot to talk about. Yeah, and I guess that really wraps it up. It obviously wasn't pretty. It wasn't great, but it is what it is. So with that, I am going to get out of here. I hope you guys at least appreciate my perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comments section. Of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Phins up.